I thought I had to fart. Nothing happened.
Well, speaking of farts, welcome everyone to Kiss Meets the Podcast 4K, the second coming. I am one of your hosts, Eli Clausen,
And I'm in.
and absent today, as you can see, no Savannah. Was feeling a little under the weather. She's actually laying in the couch, not in the couch, but on the couch in the other room.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll hear her hacking and heaving at some points if we're lucky.
Yeah. Fine. Tell her to shut up.
That's what it is. It was snorting those lines of Tic Tac last week. It's finally gotten to her, so she's got to go to rehab.
Exactly. She's
There
not
we
a
just
baby like the rest of us.
yes, there we told the truth. So. Happy Friday the 13th to everyone as we're filming this. Kind of something cool about a Friday the 13th that happens in December. I don't, Halloween's always around.
Yeah.
Oh man, so couple bits of announcements before we kind of get into this. As you have noticed on our Facebook page and through a little thing in the intro at the end of the last episode, we are now available on Spreaker, audio only, of course, because we have had some interest in people that wanted to know if we were available that way. Because understandably, some people prefer to just listen, while they're at work or whatever the case may be, maybe in the car. So we definitely appreciate the interest there. So we wanted to get on that platform again, to bring you the audio version. So we are now on Spreaker, but as of today, um, I double checked, and we are also now on Spotify and iTunes as well. So
So,
you'll be sure to see those logos popping up on our borders as well and everything else. But so yeah, there you go. Three major audio platforms that you can now listen to our episodes on. Um, let's see. So speaking of that, I also started another small poll on the Facebook page. I got to thinking, I was like, now that we have the audio version, should we go back and upload all of the past episodes, like as far as the main Kiss discography, what basically started this whole 4K thing. So maybe some of you guys that never heard it at all or are interested, and so it seems to be leaning more towards the yes right now. Not a lot of votes yet. Just put it up. I think last night or early this morning, something like that. Um, so yeah, just let us know what you think. I'll be glad to start converting all those episodes over and getting them up on the Spreaker account, and of course that'll spread into Spotify and iTunes because thankfully those are all linked, which is awesome. So just less work you have to do.
right.
um, I think that was really all the announcements as far as that. So then, of course, we have our Battle of the Songs. And I noticed Luke today, as of filming, had just posted some new matchups, but we do have some more results, I believe, from the past matchups.
Yes, we do. Oh boy. So last week we talked about the first three matches, and I seem to have accidentally closed the page. Let me bring that back up. Uh, may have announced a little bit prematurely because I had made that poll last for 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and it still had a week left when we talked about it last week, and nobody had voted on it for a while, so I figured they were probably done, safe to talk about it. Turns out no. I ended up sharing those matches into a Facebook group called the Kiss Room, which is another podcast slash radio show, right?
Yes.
And yes, awesome guys in there. And man, those things exploded, and it actually changed one of the results we talked about last week. So
Yes. Yeah. We thank you guys for jumping on and taking part in these polls, and then in turn, like maybe you've come over and discovered our show, and because we have noticed a few more likes and whatnot have popped up, so we definitely appreciate it. We hope, again, we hope you guys enjoy what you see or hear, and please interact with us. Leave your votes.
Yes, absolutely. So most of it stayed kind of the same. Our first match was Unholy versus the "See You in Your Dreams" from the Gene Simmons solo album. That did change to an 88% to 12%, which I think that's only a 1% change, but still, Unholy crushed "See You in
Yeah.
Your Dreams."
Yeah.
It varied quite a bit. I looked at the polls a couple of days ago, and it was 92% versus 8%.
Jeez.
So a couple of people came back in there with "See You in Your Dreams," so that's interesting. If you were one of those people, we want to hear, because I mean, for me it was Unholy, no contest, but I want to
Yeah.
know what if you like "See You in Your Dreams" better. I want to know why.
Yeah. Are you just rooting for the underdog, or
Right.
what is your reason?
Yeah. Curious there. The other one that stayed the same was match 3, which was Spit versus Radar for Love. Spit's still the winner. We just had about a 10% shift in the vote. It's now a 67% versus a 33%. So kind of interesting there. We had a few more votes for both, but Spit still ahead. The one that completely flipped was match number 2, which was Rock and Roll Hell versus Coming Home. Last week, Rock and Roll Hell, it was a neck and neck, but Rock and Roll Hell was winning. As of the close of the poll today, that had changed, and Coming Home is now the winner of that match with a 53% versus Rock and Roll Hell with 47%. So
Wow.
still just right there. Coming Home made a last-minute comeback thanks to all those other votes. So it's going on to round 2. So let's talk about last week's matches. The 3 that we posted last week also just ended today. They're now 1-week polls, so that we can just every week we've got 3 more brand new ones to throw at you. Match number 4 was "And on the Eighth Day" versus "Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide," and these are all crushing defeats here. All 3 of these matches. "And on the Eighth Day" with a 72% vote. I mean, just smashed. No question. Match number 5 was "X-Ray Eyes" versus "Rocket Ride." Again, another landslide victory. Rocket Ride with a 75% vote. I was a little disappointed there. "X-Ray Eyes" was my vote. I've always liked that. It's on all of you. And then the final match, match 6 from last week, was "I Can't Stop the Rain" versus "Hard Luck Woman." One of our many "What are the odds" a random generator would pair those two.
Mm-hmm.
And completely unsurprisingly to me, "Hard Luck Woman" destroys with a 77% vote there.
Yeah.
So lots of good stuff moving on to round 2 there. And then just real quick, the 3 that were just posted today that you can go check out. Match, I've lost count, doesn't matter. The first one is "Two Timer" versus "Out of This World."
That one was absolutely hard for me. I
Yeah,
sat here and battled back and forth, but I had to go with "Out of This World."
yeah. Last time I looked at that poll, you were the only one that had voted for that. So
I
people,
figured.
justice for Tommy. People get in there.
I mean, I love Two Timer also, but man, I don't know. Out of This World is just, I don't know. I got to give it the edge.
Yes. I thought that was a pretty cool early Kiss versus modern Kiss matchup.
Yes.
Also, "Journey of a Thousand Years" versus "Hard Times." Another pretty hard choice there. And then a couple of no makeupers for the final matchup this week. "I've Had Enough" Into the Fire versus "Bang Bang You," which I think was the hardest one for me, because I've always loved "I've Had Enough" Into the Fire, but Bruce is my favorite Kiss guitarist, so "Bang Bang You" has got that. Oh no, you know what? I've just realized
No, 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 right?
I posted the wrong song on there. All right, well, we'll just change that up.
I was going to say, I thought it said no, no, no. I'm like,
It
did I have a
definitely
stroke
should.
or something?
No, now I'm going to have to go down the list and find "No, No, No" and replace it with "Bang Bang You" because I'm an idiot and put the wrong song. There it is. All right. Well, then we've got an interesting mashup there, then several weeks from now, we're going to be getting Bang Bang You versus Calling Dr. Love.
Oh,
Mm,
that'll be a landslide.
yeah.
So speaking of random, like how our taste changes as time goes on randomly, with songs from each album. Okay, now the song that's like really catching me right now that I'm liking, that I maybe wasn't as, maybe I didn't show as much love to it back on that episode, but now, Not for the Innocent.
Oh, yeah.
That, I don't know, man. I heard it again the other day and it caught me this time. Like, Gene just sounds, he still sounds like Creature's Gene, like that just pissed off monster. I
Yes.
mean, so I don't know. Like, that's the song now that's like starting to gravitate on me more, and yeah. So just randomness. I thought I'd throw in there.
Nice. Well, now I got to look.
Well, tell us in the comments for that matter. Hey, is there any songs that's been like that for you guys? Like maybe songs that you maybe didn't care much for within the last 6 months, a year, whatever it's been, and now maybe it's grown on you because of something. Like, let us know. Be interested to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many Kiss songs now. I'm trying to find Not for the Innocent just because I'm curious what it's up against, and I'm not seeing it.
That's what I'm wondering too now.
Uh, so many. This even just the oh geez, all right. Even just the first round of this is going to take forever. It's up against I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll.
Okay, that's going to be a fairly easy choice for me, even though, yeah.
Uh, very very interesting.
Hmm.
Lots of good stuff coming up, so be looking forward to that. That's become one of my favorite parts now. Not only
Yeah,
seeing those, but just seeing everybody's stuff.
yeah. Maybe it's something we'll have to start analyzing a little more at some point, like as far as each song, like what is it about each song, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Don't be afraid to get down there in those comments too. I mean,
Yeah,
we're non-combative. We love all of Kiss, every song they ever did, every member that was ever in it. I mean, if you voted for the one that's got the majority vote, that's fine. We want to know why you love it. And if you voted for the one that at the time is losing, why'd you like that one? Weird songs like the people that voted for "I Can't Stop the Rain" over "Hard Luck Woman." Sure, it's weird. We want to know though why. What's so
right.
cool about that song? We want to know why.
What kind of drugs are you on?
Right.
No, I mean, for you newer listeners, that don't know this, this show is like fueled on interaction. That's what we want. We want you guys to leave your votes on these albums, and now, these songs on the Facebook, and obviously comments. Tell us, and again, we always have an open door. If anyone wants to come on and discuss any of the said albums or whatever with us, so just throwing that out there for anybody that may be a new listener.
Yeah.
So that covers the polls, right?
Yep.
All right. So the reason we are here is, again, we are back to another Black and Blue album this week. Nasty, nasty. Um, really enjoyed it, man. A lot come to find out, and of course we'll get to this here in a minute. But some other kind of surprises on this album as far as being Kiss related and whatnot. So um, was pretty excited to see that. So a lot of Kiss tie-ins going on with this album, that's for sure.
Yes.
So I believe we have a few comments. I know on the Facebook side we did.
Indeed. Yep. Nothing on last week's episode on YouTube yet. Of course, it was only posted a couple days ago now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Let me scroll back through here. I know we've got a comment from Javier Boster on the last episode on Facebook, who promised us he's going to watch that episode tonight, which was yesterday. Apparently, the game he was watching was becoming a blowout.
Yep.
It sucks, dude. No clue what you're talking about personally, but I am a sports idiot. Or maybe he was talking about a chess match. That does make for a boring chess match. We also do have Steve and Rochelle McGowan's picks for Nasty Nasty. You can jump down into that real quick.
By
Rochelle,
the way, Steve, you were like the one person that voted no on uploading the past episodes on, like, why? What a jerk.
I know, he's just being combative. What's wrong with you, Steve? I mean, I'd be mad if my middle name was Rockzilla, too, so.
It's like you're using a weapon on us and it's from God or something.
Yes. Yes. So, Steve, well, let's go with Rochelle first. Rochelle McGowan's picks, she ranked Nasty Nasty a 7 out of 10. Her top three were I Want It All, I Want It Now, Rules, and Kiss of Death.
I was going to say ladies first, but I guess that's hard to figure out on that.
Right.
Between them two.
Yeah, I don't know, Steve. What we got to know, is the beard fake? Do you have pictures of you sans beard? Because, I don't know. I'm curious. I know you don't want to see me with no beard, so
Does the carpet match the curtains? That's what we're asking.
yeah. Also, Steve's picks there, he gave this a 6 out of 10, and his top three were Best of the West, 12 O'Clock High, and Kiss of Death.
Pretty cool. And although Savannah is not with us, we do have her votes as well.
I can, let's see. She actually gave this one a 4 out of 10. Her top three were Kiss of Death, 12 O'Clock High, and Do What You Want to Do.
I was looking forward to hearing her input on this album.
Yeah, well, I do know that as we were sitting in here, and now given maybe this fact that she wasn't feeling well, but she pretty much just played on her phone through most of it, and every time about halfway through a song, she'd go, "I don't like this very much."
Maybe it's because she wasn't feeling well, or maybe that's why she's not feeling well. Is listening to out of Michael Bolton and all that, she gets sick on Black and Blue.
Yeah, I know she doesn't like spitting either, so maybe the beginning of the album set her off.
God, the Laura Nero album, I wanted to dig myself a grave.
God, yeah. And after you had finished digging, I was going to hit myself over the head with that shovel. So we did get a few comments on the actual song, the matches, and all that. Usually it's Rabble commenting, so we appreciate that. He's usually talking about why he's picked which song. You know, for example, on Unholy and See Your Dreams, he says, I like Rock and Roll Over, but that's my least favorite on there. Unholy is the best song off Revenge, in my opinion, that sort of thing. So definitely appreciate the input there.
See Your Dreams, huh?
See Your Dreams, yeah, I don't know.
Remix.
Yeah, I hit myself a little too hard with that shovel, and I've had a stroke. Yup. I think then we can jump into some album info.
Yeah, I just burped a little bit. What's with all this sickness?
Yes, no good. Oh, so this is a very interesting thing. This is Nasty Nasty, which is the third studio album by Black and Blue. This album was produced by Gene Simmons, which didn't know that. Except for the song "I'll Be There for You," which was written and produced by the Journey rhythm guitarist and keyboardist Jonathan Cain. A little bit
used as the Friends theme song. No, just kidding.
Hey, right. Very interesting there. This was released in August of 1986. So again, right around that Asylum era. 1986 has been a hell of a year for us. It seems like the
Yeah.
last several albums have been 86.
I was like literally starting kindergarten probably in August of '86.
Yeah.
Crazy to think.
Yep. I was still swimming around minding my own business. So I don't have clear memories of that year.
I see what you did. Clear.
Ah.
It's a bit milky.
This was, oh wow, and this fits right into, this was recorded at Baby O Recorders and Cherokee Studios and One-on-One Recording Studios in LA. This is considered glam metal for some reason.
Again with that glam metal crap.
Yeah, I just don't see them as glam metal. I don't know. I've
Uh,
never been good at subgenres, so maybe I'm wrong there, but I don't know. Um, this was apparently they intentionally moved away from the polished kind of ballady sound of the last album, Without Love. A lot of their metal fans were not super happy, so they went with Gene to make the production more raw. They wrote more aggressive songs. Um, and then, other than "I'll Be There for You," really, I'd say they did a pretty good job with all that.
yeah.
They also, interestingly, this is why that one song was produced by Jonathan Cain. They had written and recorded a song called "Promise the Moon" that was going to be the quote unquote ballad on the album, and then at the last minute, the record company told them none of these are good enough to be a single, so they made them do "I'll Be There for You" post, and then they put that on instead of "Promise the Moon." Uh,
Ah,
at least I didn't look into this, but at least according to Wikipedia, we've never heard that. That's not anywhere. So
really?
yeah, that's pretty interesting. And now I guess I could have done a YouTube search just to see if that's actually true. But
Yeah, maybe in that big old box set thing we have on the computer too.
oh
I'll,
right, right.
I'll look as you're talking.
Indeed, yes. So personnel for this one, we've got, of course, Jamie St. James on lead and backing vocals, Tommy Thayer on the guitars and backing vocals, Jeff Warner on guitars, Patrick Young on bass, Pete Holmes on the drums. We've also got John Purdell, who did keyboards on Kiss of Death. Now he's a musician and producer. He's produced a whole ton of stuff. He produced Ozzy's No More Tears album. He produced Dream Theater's Awake album. So really
Wow.
talented guy. Just played keyboards on the one song. And then we also have guest vocals from Ron Keel and none other than Peter Criss on the song Best in the
Oh,
West.
amazing.
Yeah, not didn't have any idea about any of that.
I didn't either, and I just happened to be reading the back of the cover here and saw it. I was like, whoa! But then it didn't even say on. It doesn't say on here what song Peter was on. So I personally couldn't tell listening to the whole thing, but it's cool to know that he was in there somewhere. Now I know what song.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you know, I think you'll hear it. But I gotta say, and I noted this in the song, I think it didn't need to be there. It wasn't a big enough part that it was worth really anything. They should have. I wish they would have just let him sing one. You know?
Right. And knowing's half the battle.
Exactly. Um,
I'm not seeing any black and blue material in this box set. I thought there would have been.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I wonder if that's on YouTube or if anybody's ever heard that. Apparently, it was a complete mystery. Even I'm curious if this is on your vinyl. They gave keyboard credits to John Purdell for Kiss of Death and Promise the Moon, according to Wikipedia, on the back of the LP, and fans were baffled. What the hell is Promise the Moon? Until finally the 2003 remaster of this album had a little section explaining this was a song we meant to put on there. It didn't get released. We replaced it.
Uh, well, I guess if I read it right, because it does say thanks to our friends on Best in the West, and then it lists under Ron Keel. So I guess if I would have read it right, I would have understood. Um, let's see. Yeah, keyboards by John Purdell on Promise the Moon and Kiss of Death. Yeah. Huh.
Very interesting. So I assume I'll Be There For You must have been a single, but it's not listed on here, so that's kind of weird.
I would almost be surprised if they haven't like reissued these Black and Blue albums by now, and maybe they would have included, excuse me, that song, "Promise the Moon,"
Yeah,
on the reissue, possibly.
I would be very curious because I felt the production of the album on that song, it was completely different than the rest. It still fit and it was still good, but I would be curious what a ballad but with the rest of the album's production would sound like.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if can't seem to find it, that's something I have to ask Tommy if we ever get a chance again,
Yeah,
like at the expo or something.
yeah. Yeah, I've just done a YouTube search and I'm not seeing it here either.
Wow. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool that Peter's just randomly on a track. So
In 1986, where we're led to believe there wasn't really any communication or camaraderie between the original members of Kiss.
exactly.
Surely Gene and Peter were in the same room when this happened. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it was probably Gene's idea to get Peter on the album.
I would imagine so.
Wow. Okay. So I guess we'll get started here. So opening up the album here, we have the title track, of course, "Nasty Nasty." This was my number 2. Cool way to open the album. That weird hucking a loogie sound had to be a Gene idea. um, really like the overall production so far, though. Everything is very prominent and crisp. Drums sound nice, and the kick drums there, and you feel it in your chest a little bit. As for the song itself, it's basically about a girl that is into doing nasty things. Therefore, she is nasty, nasty. So definitely the Gene flavor all over this album, as you'll find out soon.
Very much. And agreed, this is my number 2 as well. I actually fought back and forth as to whether this was going to be number 1.
Same.
Yeah. Of course, I noted, hey, this sounds kind of familiar. And Wikipedia mentions this too. This, of course, is the main riff of this song is based on the main riff of Domino, or I guess kind of the other way around, because this was quite a bit before Domino was written.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot we had discovered that after we recorded last week. I totally forgot about that and didn't catch it.
Also, near the end of the song, you'll hear one of the main riffs from the song Only You from The Elder.
Ah, yes.
This was quite a bit after that, so interesting that Gene was recycling Kiss riffs. But I did like what they did with it. It was neat. It's similar enough that you could tell, but it's also not note for note the same. It doesn't sound like the song Domino plus the riff from Only You, but with some different lyrics.
Right.
It genuinely is its own song. Close enough to be considered plagiarism, maybe, but I don't think it detracts from it.
Yeah.
And I also noted the same thing about the production. After having heard Gene's production on the Wendy O. Williams album, I was a little bit sketchy about how good it was going to be. But no, everything sounds really clean and nice. And I definitely get that raw feel that Wikipedia mentioned. You can tell, I think, that they were going for just the stripped down, straightforward heavy metal. And I think they and Gene nailed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with Gene being involved, definitely no plagiarism. But had he not been, then who knows? Maybe that's something that they would have got hit with.
I,
But
I can see that. Well, I mean, honestly, Kiss might have been the ones to get hit with it
yeah, well, yeah,
if it hadn't been Gene that wrote the riff in the first place.
that is true. Yeah, I was the same way. Like I was pretty much decided that this was going to be number 1, but then once I got to the one that ended up being the number 1 by a landslide, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, cool opening to the album.
Right.
So, track 2, and no, this is not a cover. I Want It All, I Want It Now. Not the Queen song. This is my number 4. So this one starts out with a little, drum and bass groove, and then it keeps going. The guitars eventually kind of come in, kind of matching what the drums and bass are doing. Again, Gene had to have had a lot to do with the lyrics for this album. Another song about a sexual appetite. Um, Again, as I've probably said on every other Black and Blue album, and probably going to say a few times again, a cool solo from Tommy on this one.
This is going to be a boring episode. This is also number 4.
Oh my God, we're matching again. What is it like when it's just you and I and we start matching again?
I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, it's a good thing that Savannah and Steve and Rochelle jumped in there too.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I really like that intro. Again, the tones of the drums and the tones of the bass, just it was a cool way to start a song, and it was catchy. A good way to come out of Nasty Nasty and make it different but still exciting. Um, the chorus of this one reminded me a bit of like mid '90s alt rock. Wasn't what I was expecting. Wasn't like 100% a fan, but it was nice that it was something different again. Just
right.
didn't expect it. It made for an interesting feel, and I also noted that Tommy Solo was cool.
Again, it goes without saying, but hey, it needs to be mentioned when it needs it. So, next up is another one of these dumb titles that sort of asks the question but doesn't exactly say what it's asking. Does she or doesn't she? So again, kind of that whole theme as we've had. So anyway, this is my number 9, least favorite on the album, 9 tracks. I was pretty bored with this one. I could basically just hear Gene singing this one in my head. So I think that's one of the reasons I kind of lost interest. Is I'd almost just rather hear Gene singing this, or a demo or whatever, which I'm not sure if there is or not. I'm gonna have to double check, but yeah, that I think that's why. Is I would have almost just rather it been an actual Gene song. So boring.
That's funny. Uh, all right, well, this is my number 1, so
No, it's not.
yeah.
Is it really?
And strangely, I think it was kind of for the same reason. This one just felt like it had Gene written all over it, and I liked that about it.
I totally thought we were gonna have the same number 1. So wow.
Wow. No,
Wow,
this
talk about we go from matching to least favorite and favorite. My God.
I just kind of generally liked the feel of the song too. It was another thing that I just wasn't really expecting out of them. The
Yeah.
harmony were cool. I often don't like when a chorus does what this one did, where they're singing the title of the song and then the lead vocalist is kind of scatting over top. For me, for some reason, this one worked. But yeah, I think kind of my favorite thing about it, strangely, was that it just had such a Gene feel written all over it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I could just it was that like Lick It Up Animalize era Gene. Like I could just hear that version in my head, like, him singing that.
Yeah.
Well, so next up is Kiss of Death, and this is my number 1. Um, so really nice comeback with this one. Music wise, it felt a little bit more on the thrashy side, to be honest. Um, you know, so there again with that whole stupid glam label that Wikipedia likes to put on it. Nah, I mean this track was a little thrashy at times. This could have also been a good album opener.
Definitely.
Another smoking solo in here, and there were little tiny bits of this solo that kind of reminded me of parts of what would end up being the modern day Delilah solo that would come, all these years later. Little tiny parts in there, notes. Now, again, here we come to the part where, in Black and Blue fashion, some unexpected moments again.
Yeah.
So wow, the end of this song just kicks my ass. The song, it suddenly kind of has that stopped record effect, kind of almost Black Diamond like, how it starts slowing down all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden it just goes into this drum and guitar kind of thing, almost like Love Gun, where they're going together, whatever. I forget the actual rhythm now. But anyway, it kicks in, and then the kick drum is noticeably deeper, as if they're kind of going for that Creatures sound again on that part. But man, totally cool. Just vibe to it, and kind of heavy in its own way, and just a great way to change the pace of the song and to end it. So that's again what really caught me and made this my number one.
Yeah. I thought it was the next song. I had to look to make sure 12 O'Clock High wasn't like a real short track or something. I had already typed, I love the transition between these two songs. Weird. I think that ending part too would have made this song a great way to close the album.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Now, yeah. Because once I got to the end of the album, I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is definitely one of them tracks that I would definitely revisit.
Yes. Yeah, this one was my number three. Right away, this song caught me just because of that opening riff, and it's weird, and just the immediately, I think why it caught me was like, I don't like that at all. But then as it went, it was like, no, you know what? This is cool. It's cool that it's that weird and it still works. And then, yeah, the rhythm guitar part behind the guitar solo was super interesting. The solo was cool. Um, I'm gonna move something from what I was gonna say this in my overall speech later, but I think it works better here. Normally, not a fan of the wah pedal at
Mm.
all. It's one of the reasons, and crucify me if you must. I've never been able to take Kirk Hammett that serious as a guitarist. Just not a big fan of it personally, but Tommy's use of it in this solo, I think, was exactly how it should be used if it's going to be. It was perfect, and it wasn't the whole solo. Again, a reason why if it's going to be used, this was perfect. The fact that it was only there for part of it just made it right spot on.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of people don't take Kurt Hammett very seriously anymore. There's a lot of memes out there about him and his wah pedal.
Yeah.
I think one was like it was his gas pedal in his car was actually a wah pedal.
Oh man. Did you see the little video of him not that long ago? I think they played somewhere where it was real cold and he actually slipped off of it and fell.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And of course, there were memes aplenty of him with a face like, and it's the wah pedal has betrayed me or something like that. It's good.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I've come to like about Black and Blue is, you kind of go in, and Wikipedia doesn't help, but you kind of just go in expecting it to be just your basic hair metal, glam metal sounding album. But man, so far in every album, they just throw in these like curveballs that catch you out of nowhere that you totally don't expect.
Yeah.
And believe me, this isn't the last one. There's at least another time that this happens during this album. So or a couple times to be honest. But so yeah, I mean that's just something I've liked about their approach to what they did. All right, so moving on. So being that I was listening to the vinyl version, so this actually starts outside too. 12 o'clock high, and this is my number six. Um, so kind of cool, flip the record over, and first track you start off with a acapella intro. So again, just vast differences in the beginning of each side of the album. Song definitely takes off from there. Just pretty straightforward rocker, and another solid solo from Tommy. I mean, I guess with what I was just saying is what you would almost expect to hear. This is kind of that song that I guess fits that mold of kind of what just a straightforward type of hair metal, if you will, but whatever. But for the most part, yeah, they definitely have a unique style.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear this starts off side two. I just listened to it on YouTube, and this is a great way to start the second album, or the second side of the album. I mean,
Hmm.
of course, this was also my number 6. Going back to that, but yeah, I just my main note was about that vocal intro. You just don't hear that very often in music. A lot of singers flat out don't like being heard without music behind them, and I thought Jamie St. James did a great job here. You can hear the emotion in his voice. It he may not have even hit all of the notes 100% perfectly, but just the feel of it, it's there, and it's cool that they thought to do that.
Yeah, this just popped in my head. It makes me wonder now. I wonder if maybe Tommy kind of had the idea of, down the road on Monster with "Eat Your Heart Out" with
Right.
that acapella intro. I wonder if maybe that's kind of the idea of that. Maybe similar to how this was. Don't know. So next up is "Do What You Want to Do," and this is my number 3. Um, so I'll, jeez, this one's. I mean, even though it's my number 3, it's a bit of a doozy. I was liking the general idea of the meaning of the lyrics to this one, but then I heard the line, "I don't like Cheerios. I want to eat you to start my day."
Yeah.
And a little later, something about "I'm only young. I like to use my tongue."
I didn't catch that one. I caught the Cheerios.
I said, "Oh well, another fast-paced track." And again, another fairly unexpected moment as the song breaks down to the drums still doing that fast beat along with the bass groove. And then there's this like sort of a sing along section. And then at the end of the song, they start doing these weird like doo doo things. And I thought they were funny because a few times I thought he sounded like Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
She was like doo doo. I was like, what is this? Like, what is this song? Like, I think that's why I ranked it so high, is it was just so ridiculous. Like, it's kind of the "Read My Body" of Black and Blue, I guess, with these lyrics,
Yeah.
or "Burn Bitch Burn." I don't like Cheerios.
Want to put
God.
a log in your fireplace? Come on, baby, lick my candy cane.
Yeah, yeah,
This is the band we worship.
yeah. Or like Zeppelin, squeeze my lemon until the juice runs down my leg. I'm only young. I like to use my tongue. Something like
All right.
that.
Oh wow. This one was my number 7. Um, really, this one would have been about, for me, where it was for you, I think, except for those scatty vocals at the end. I couldn't take it serious. Not sure about it at all. And also the intro, just the very, very, very beginning of the song. Again, similarly to Kiss of Death, I was like, oh,
Hmm.
I don't like this. But then as soon as the song kicked in, oh, cool. I loved the upbeat, and then the chorus goes down to halftime, but then it transitions back up into the fast thing for the second verse. Again, same thing for the solo. Yeah, I was really grooving on this, and then the doo doos and the, like you said, he's singing like this. What is going on?
That's what set it off. But like the title, "Do What You Want to Do," and then like it started off as kind of this, again like almost like a Kiss message, like who cares what people think, and then all of a sudden we get into talking about Cheerios and using my tongue, and I'm like, okay, well there went that whole subject of the song.
Yeah.
Oh God. So next is the "I'll Be There For You," and this is my number 7. Here's the cheesy ballad of the album. The keys intro reminds me of "You Better You Bet" by The Who. And then all I had to say other than that was this song is the father of Stan from Sonic Boom.
Yeah. Uh, this one is my number 8. I'd like to hear Journey do this. I mean,
Hmm,
Jonathan Cain wrote it. Uh,
true.
I wonder why they didn't. I feel like this would be a good Journey song. Uh, Definitely a callback to Without Love. This reminded me of the Without Love material a lot. Uh, Clearly produced by someone different to me, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's bad in that it's inconsistent with the rest
Hmm.
of the album, but it still sounds good. It still sounds fine, and I don't think it's so different that just anyone who listens to it would be like, "Ah, what happened?" You know?
Right, and it kind of makes me wonder now, like if they chose this over that moon one or whatever, how bad was that one, or was that one better than I'll be there for you? Like in our opinions, who knows?
Right. It would have been curious. Um, the drums sound a little bit different. They do sound good still. As I've complained about with previous albums, the if you're going to do an '80s ballad, you got to have that big cannon snare drum, and they did for this. Whereas for most of the album, it's pretty raw and it's pretty dry, again as it should be. But it was just weird that suddenly the drums were a little bit different.
Hmm.
Uh, I do think this was a good song, and I think if this had been on Without Love, it would have placed high. But just because it kind of feels out of place next to the others, even putting it between "Do What You Want to Do" and "Rules," which are both pretty, heavy hitters, thrashy. It just felt weird, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's almost like this song was on the wrong album, like you said. Like maybe it would have been better fit on Without Love.
Without a doubt.
Okay, so next up is the track Rules, and this is my number 8. This one was the weird one for me for some reason. I don't know, man. Those weird, oddly placed background voices. It like made me think I had a demon talking in my head. No pun intended. But yeah, I didn't have much to pay attention to with this one. Those weird voices just threw me off.
Yeah, this one I found super interesting. This was my number 5. Right back to rock, right back to the way the rest of the album was. Felt a lot more like the others. My favorite part of this whole song is the beginning of both verse 1 and verse 2, the 12-string part, 12-string guitar part. It's such a weird progression, a chord progression that played very well, weird chords, creepy chords. And then also the combination of the acoustic and the electric guitar, just the way it was produced and the way it sounded, kind of brought to mind Ace's '78 solo album. Several songs do that same thing on there.
See, I don't even remember hearing the 12 string. Like I was just so like spaced out on that song from those voices. I guess
Yeah,
I don't
definitely,
even recall that.
definitely out of the box for Jamie St. James. He does not do stuff like that very much.
Right. Well, we come to the last song on the album already. Best in the West, which of course we know now is the track that has Peter and Ron Keel. But this was my number 5. So again, with the kind of weird black and blue stuff, this one starts out with like it's a simulated crowd noise, and then we get this like unexpected bar of the national anthem on horns,
Yeah,
and then the little woo that comes in sounded just like the intro to Crazy Nights. That whoa.
yeah.
um, I mean, at least this wasn't a ballad to end the album on, but still got a little bit bored with it by the end of it. It seemed like it was going to be a bit anthemic at first, but then it just seemed to turn into another song about a whore.
Description, yes, very. This one was my number 9. This was definitely and by far, personally, my least favorite. Yeah, what in the world was with that intro? Crowd noise I can get behind, but why the national anthem? I don't, and why the instrument it was played on, even more than that. Just weird.
Right.
Um,
It's sorry, but it's like best in the West, and and again, you think it's going to be anthemic, and it ends up being about a girl again. So what the hell does the national anthem have to do with it? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. What killed me about this specifically, and honestly, it kind of irks me that this is what I didn't like about it. It was the guest vocals. Did not like the super high vocals, which I assume was Ron Keel. Didn't like Peter's parts, and I also didn't really hear as much of him as I was hoping we would. I thought he would like sing a verse or something, but no, he's literally just like support. A couple of times in the song, he goes, "What you talking about, Saint?" Stuff like that. It's like, why? Why did he need to be there? It just seemed thrown in there. And then, yeah, it kind of like you just said, it felt like the song was meant to be anthemic and just kind of didn't. I think they had the right idea for an album closer. They just could have written a better song.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying earlier. I was looking for that, obvious Peter standout moment too,
Yeah.
and had no idea, because again, by the end of this album, I had no clue what song he was on. I didn't read the, the thing right, didn't know the info we read earlier until now, and so yeah, I was the same way. I was kind of waiting to hear that signature, Peter vocal or whatever, So um, I'm not sure what the whole story was with that, and because I don't even recall Peter talking about that in his book or anything, so I'm not sure what the deal was.
It almost makes you think he just happened to be in the studio that day. He just happened to be there, and Gene was like, "Oh, come listen to the band I'm producing." And then one of them was like, "Ah, you should get in there and do some stuff." And
Probably,
you
probably
know,
Tommy being such a big fan, and maybe it had something to do with the end of Peter's contract, because I know there was something about where Peter was still, you know, like under a contract to some extent at that point or something like that. I'm not sure, but maybe that had something to do with kind of fulfilling that, or I don't know.
right?
If anyone knows more info, please share. So, so that's the end of the album, Nasty Nasty. Overall, I give this one a 5. I really enjoyed this one more than Without Love, and I put it right up there with the first album. And I'm almost borderline wanting to say that I kind of like this one better than the first album. I'm still kind of undecided. Again, I enjoyed the production overall, very easy on the ears. Um, well, let's see, I'll cut that line out. It was about Peter, which we just obviously discussed. I hated to have to use so many Kiss comparisons on this album, but was hoping, even though Gene produced it, that they would have still made it more of their own. But it's just way too obvious of all the Gene presence on the record. um, but again, a solid 5. Definitely give it a listen. If you like the first album, you'll definitely like this one.
I went ahead and gave this one a 7. I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. I didn't dislike Without Love when we reviewed it, but it fell kind of meh enough that I'll admit I wasn't really looking forward to listening to this one. Even when we read last week that they had intentionally tried to make this one a little bit more heavy, I was still a little bit in question. What could it
Right.
possibly be? What's Gene's production going to sound like? It's kind of curious. And I assumed it would still be fairly similar to Without Love. But if they were going for that stripped down, back to the roots, good old metal album, I mean, they nailed it. Right, absolutely on the head. And not only did they write the perfect songs for that, just that aggressive, straightforward metal, but as we talked about several times, Gene's productions, they really helped that feel. This could have sounded completely different, and it could have come across completely wrong if it had been produced any other way. Uh, and then, I think it kept a lot of elements that defined Black and Blue as well, which is a thing you can get into when you go into albums where the band was intentionally trying to do something different than they normally do. you can kind of go too far down the rabbit hole, and then your diehard fans hate it. But I thought this still worked in both of those. They were able to take it kind of in a little bit of a different direction while still maintaining the things that made them Black and Blue. And having said that, I think Jamie's voice is what stands out to me on this album as the biggest thing that ties them back to the first two albums. He was still able to do that 80s thing, but it fit the songs. It's not like it didn't make sense. So very good job on that. Of course, Tommy killed all the lead guitar parts on this album. As we've said, probably both the other episodes we've done, Black and Blue. If you're only familiar with Tommy's work with Kiss and you think he's just an Ace clone, dude, screw that. You need to take a listen to these albums because he can really do some stuff.
Yeah, 1000%. Yes.
Yes, perfect job on his of mixing soulful, meaningful leads with also like interesting and flashy stuff. Of course, the thing I said earlier about the wah pedal, if you got to use it, I think he did it absolutely perfectly on Kiss of Death. Um, I liked a lot of things about that closing track, but we always talk about how we're looking for that album with the perfect closer. And I, even though this one was last on my list, I think it might have jumped up to the top of my list of album closers so far, just because I think they had the right idea. It had a lot of elements I personally look for in a closing track. It was upbeat, it was exciting, it was sort of anthemic. But yeah, the crowd elements, they were a nice touch, but the song wasn't catchy. I think that they could have written a better song, something that achieved that anthemic goal a little more. And honestly, I wish they hadn't had Ron Keel or Peter Criss on there. More effective, just be Jamie. Altogether, they should have closed the album with Kiss of Death. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of my favorite that we've reviewed in the Second Coming. I think I've said that a couple of times now, but this one might have jumped to the top of my list. This is
Nice.
one I may listen to again in the future, and definitely can't say that for most of these. Um,
Yeah.
it also has me looking forward to the last Black and Blue album that we have on this list, which I think it's a few weeks away yet, but the last one they did with Tommy a couple years from this one. Actually, looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, I believe looking at the list, it's actually close to actually a couple months away, the way our list goes. Uh, about roughly about 9 weeks. So, almost like a month and a half, roughly. Um, but man, there's some great ones in between all that. But I agree with what you said. I was, damn it, I was a bit hesitant to listen to this one again. I mean, yes, I do own it physically, but again, this was only the second time I've put it on and listened since whenever I first got it. So again, I was kind of like, oh, is it going to be, hopefully better than Without Love? And thankfully it was. And um, glad to own it. Just like with the first album, there's definitely some of these tracks that are going to now go on to my, drive to put in the car. So, um, especially Kiss of Death.
Yeah.
Definitely some strong moments. So, um, but yeah, like we were just saying, the last Black and Blue album with Tommy in Heat, uh, that will be, it's going to be a little while till we get to that one, but there are some great stuff coming up. Next week is Vinnie Vincent Invasion. So we're finally getting into those actual, Kiss guitarists, whatever you want to say. So,
Right. Right.
Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and then of course the White Tiger, Mark St. John, and then the week after that is one I'm really looking forward to is Fraley's Comet. Uh, love that album. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and before we get to the last Black and Blue, there is an actual Kiss release in there. So as we said, there are some actual Kiss releases in this list. So very excited for these next ones coming up. It's again, like we said, it's just getting better and better by the week. So hopefully we'll see a lot more interaction especially on these Vinnie Vincent Invasion albums and Fraley's comment and whatnot. So be sure to get all your input in on those. So are we ready with the tally here?
Yep, absolutely. We ended up with one tie this week, but it's not an important one. Not in the top 3, so we're good to go there, but still definitely get in there and give us your votes so that we can break that up. We like no ties at all.
Mm-hmm.
Nice cut and dried that way. So this ended up with a 5.8 out of 10 average overall rating, which is pretty good. That definitely puts it above 7-star from last week, and the first Black and Blue album, which only had a 5. Puts it just, or no, I'm sorry, not the first Black and Blue album, Without Love. It puts it above Without Love, and just below the first Black and Blue album, which we gave a 6 overall. Sadly, this also ended up 1 point below the first Michael Bolton album, so let's not keep that.
Wow.
Come on, people, get in here and give this a better rating.
Some people were a little too generous on that Michael Bolton.
Yeah, I guess so. So our dead last for this, like I said, there's one tie. So our last place is 8th place, and that is I'll Be There For You. Everybody had that fairly low on their list. Again, I almost want to listen to Without Love again, but just drop this one in the middle of it just to see how it compares. Our tie here is 7th place, which is Best in the West and Does She or Doesn't She?
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much everybody had those low. Steve F. Best in the West was Steve's number 3, though. What?
Of course it was.
Yeah.
He thought it was about him.
Yes. Coming in 6th place, Rules, because nobody likes Rules, especially Gene Simmons. In 5th place, I Want It All, I Want It Now.
Rules are made to be broken.
4th place, 12 O'Clock High. And then our top 3 for this week, completely deserved for sure. In 3rd place, Nasty Nasty. In 2nd place, Do What You Want to Do. And in 1st place, Kiss of Death.
Awesome. As long as that one was in the top 3, but number 1 makes it, hey, I like that too. All right, so that wraps it up. Another one, definitely give it a listen. Great album. And so, again, keep getting your votes in for these albums. Get your votes in for the Vinnie Vincent Invasion next week. Make sure you pop in on our Facebook page and throw your vote down for your favorite Kiss songs. And as always, thanks for spreading the word. And once again, look for us on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify for our audio versions. Spread the word and all that good stuff, like the Facebook page and all whatnot. So, hey, Kiss started their Japan tour too, by the way, and so far it looks like the same old set list. But hey, whatever. Maybe when they come back to the States, they'll change it up. So we can only wait and see. But good reviews and good things that I've heard so far based on the Japan show, playing the Tokyo Dome on top of that, which was a huge venue, is a huge venue.
Yeah.
All right, so until next week for the Vinnie Vincent Invasion album, we shall see you then.
What has she got that the others have not? It must be that look in her eyes.